So today we're in E16 looking at the Tate and Lyle factory and the residents around it. It once served for an entire community that worked at the factory and was a whole world of its own. I want my cameraman to come up to the window as we pass the huge estate and give you an insight as to what it used to be like. Coming up now to the actual factory, and you'll see all of the resident houses, flats, which lead up to the factory itself, showing this was once a truly thriving area, not just for the factory, but for the residents. This is the Tate and Lyle Institute, which opened not long after the merging of Mr. Tate and Mr. Lyle and the formation of their factory. This was opened to entertain the local residents, the workers, and it would have snooker events, darts events, and act as a place for people to unite and come together, a place for recreational activities. And you can see, if you come over here for me, cameraman, it's a lot bigger than it looks. So if you get this angle for me first, because it is a glorious building, it's been closed for a long time. Down here for me, look how far back it actually goes. Because it wasn't just a pub, it was a thriving community hub. And if you think, if you were one of the wives living in the houses, your husband would be in the factory on this estate, then he might be in there after work. You might have gone to see him, you might be in there with your kids. They had Christmas parties for children. This was an important part of the Tate and Lyle community. See some of the old features left to rot, really. In recent years, some arts types got in there and was hanging EU flags and things like that. But as you can see, it's been closed down. And the way it is in most cities, never mind London, is, as you can see, they board things up in an ugly fashion because of the amount of people that try to squat or break in. London's, you know, really known for this. For once you got a beautiful building which is abandoned, you have to stick metal on it just to keep it safe. But enough to make it look ugly. And here, that's City Airport. There, just at the end of the road, City Airport. See a sign here where it refers to the Tate and Lyle London Sports and Social Club, because in the area they also used to have sports grounds. They had rugby teams, football teams, cricket, and all that sort of thing. Because, as I said, everyone here was not just part of the factory; they was part of a community. And other communities, or dare I say even factories, might come in and play the locals at football. And this is the back of it, obviously. No prizes for getting that one. And you can see the factory itself towering in the background. But this was left around the 1930s. Had a couple of bits and bobs take place in there since, but as I say often, it's a shadow of its former self. So all of these shops here, or what looked like shop fronts, would have actually been shops. Now, as you can see, some of them have become residential. There's a kebab house, a couple of shops, but this would have once served the community. And you can actually get another nice view around the back of the Tate and Lyle Institute, which, by the way, is owned by Newham Council. So let's wait and see what they do with it. So Tate and Lyle is an industrial powerhouse of the Docklands and was heavily slowed up thanks to the European Union. Now, Tate and Lyle were actually two separate men, Mr. Tate and Mr. Lyle, and they had two separate companies, Lyle known for syrup and Tate being one of the first to bring in sugar cubes to Britain. It was actually later down the line that their families' descendants, such as grandchildren, actually brought the two companies together as opposed to competing to create Tate and Lyle. Later down the line, they'd be heavily held up by the European Union, putting heavy restrictions on them and their produce. It wasn't brought to his knees, but it was certainly slowed down and was making huge appeals to the members of the European Parliament to try and reverse the cruel taxation that was going on, the levies that were going on. Because if we look at a camera from Japan, Canon or someone like that, they're not being taxed by the European Union. They're selling their products in Britain and making a large profit. But for some reason, the genuine British company, Tate and Lyle, and companies like it, and this company helps us use it as an example of how British industry has been so damaged by the levies of the European Union. Now, we're supposed to be leaving or have left the European Union. So with any luck, places like Tate and Lyle will improve, and we know full well that they have full intentions of continuing their development. Only recently I was listening to one of their spokesmen who was talking about all the development they have coming up. And it certainly won't be like it was, what with the old Silvertown community and the old development. It certainly won't be like that, but at least it's our industry hopefully thriving once again. And many families, even part of my own family, have either lived or worked near the Tate and Lyle. And it's always been an iconic location. It's not the most pretty location, certainly, but is it iconic? And also it's an example of industry which did seem good. Much of the Industrial Revolution, or industry in general, there's many points to be made which is negative, which many of the mass producers don't want to talk about. But this factory created something in the Docklands which was very different. It created a whole swathe of people which were united and connected, and were very much hurt when it started to decline. Now, in the 60s, there was a huge decline in the Docklands altogether, and that saw many people moving out. But in modern times, gentrification, mass migration, the airport, and much else has caused this area to completely change, and a lot of new builds to go up, which aren't the same as developing factory works.